So yesterday we discussed runtime formulas. So today we will concentrate on SQLite example. So for SQLite example, like first we will create a project here. So new project, MDVS activity. So I'm creating a name of SQL. Right, once I click on it. Now we will save this in SQLite. So for that, just UI I'll copy from here because it's a regular UI. Like I'm taking three fields. One is the username, location, and a designation. So these three values I want to save in a database. So for that here now, so just I have replaced one button. So one edit text for designation, other is for location, name, and simple text review. So also added the data binding also for this. Now we will write the next step. So this SQLite we will use for to save the data locally. So sometimes we will use that for to create data to save locally. So whenever the like online and offline applications, so when network is not there, so that time normally we will save the data locally. Again, when the net is connected, we will push the data to the server. So that is the way we will write here. Just once this project has loaded, we will see. Yeah, so this is created here. Now we will add the data binding here. So data binding. enable equal true. So let us sync this. Okay, done. So now here we'll add the data binding. So that is where binding colon. So that is activity main binding equal to null. Right here binding equal to data binding util dot. So data binding util dot set content. So here we'll write simply this. Done. So now here next step here. So that binding dot. So I think IDV has used as this. So set on click listener. So while I want to save the data, so this I'm using that on click listener. So once user has clicked on this, we have to save the data, right? So meanwhile here we will add this imports. Right, so both imports are ready. Now, within this first I want to collect the data from this. So there is, we created three fields. One is the username. So that is binding dot name dot, so name dot get text from the, there we are getting the text, so that we are converting into string. So finally I'll do the trim as well. So trim means it will avoid the spaces in starting and ending. If we have any spaces, it will avoid those. Here location. So this is the designation. So total three values we want to save in a database. So this is the designation, this is the location. Done. But to save this here, what we are doing here is now, so we will creating the one method that is a var. So I'm creating a name of DB handler. This is the user defined. So DB handler. So DB handler. So with reference of the context. Done. So now with this name DB handler, we used to create a class. So now I'm creating a class. So once I created one separate class here, so the class has created here, like this can't have to generalize. Because if you write like this data I can access only from the main activity. But I don't want to, in brain activity, I want to access from any of the activities. So like that I added this. Then this can be extended as SQL Open Helper. So SQL Open Helper, right? So this can be extended as SQL Open Helper. And here it has few things like context. See, context, string name, that is a DB name, and factory, that is a cursor factory. So and DB version. So these are all the things you have to write here. This context. So already we have the context that I'll write here. Next here I'm writing the DB name. So just I'm writing this DB name that we will declare as one constraint field. Next, further factory always we will give the null. Then next is the DB version. So these are the things I have defined here. Right, DB version. Right. Then here it has two implemented methods. So I have implemented these two methods. Right. Now here I am creating one companion object. So companion object, normally whatever the static values are there. So those are the static values we will define in a companion object. So here private constraint value. So constraint value. So first one is DB version equal to 1. Right. Next. So here DB name. So here we will define DB name as user details, something user details. So because I am saving the data as user, right, user details. Next, here next is the, sorry, this is the DB, right? We will define like this user DB. Here this is the table name. So we'll give the table name as the user details. Right, this we will change. So that is the table underscore users. So table underscore users. Right, next. So total 4 values we have to save. So first one is the key underscore ID. Key ID, this is the ID, auto-generated ID. Next is the key underscore name. Next is the key underscore location. Next is the key underscore designation. So these are the values I want to save here. So this year we will write, this is the first year ID. So this is the name and this is the location. And next this is the designation. So these are the values we are saving in a database like this, right? Now with these details, here we will create a table. So how to create a table? So to create a table here, right, I'm writing that one thing that is var create table. So here, now I'll write the query to create a table. So equal to, so here create table, right, create table. So that is with name already we defined, right? So table users, with that name we are creating a table. So in that table, what are the columns we are including? So that is first one is the key ID. So create a table. Okay. So that is the key ID. Key ID. So this key ID, I'm expecting that as an integer and a primary. That is primary for my means that is a unique value, primary key, that too, that is auto increment. So automatically, like last record inserted as a 1, automatically it will be the unique ID will be inserted as a 2, like that. It is a auto increment. Right. So that I have created here. So done. Less. So next. So next what we have to add. So that is a key. location, name, we will add in order. So name, so name, this is in the form of text. Next, so this is in the form of this. Next, e location, this is also in the form of text. Next, e designation, even this is also in the form of text. Done. So here for this places also have to close. So this is create table query as done. Now we are executing the query based on this return type. So that is db dot this is the return type is from here. This is the SQLite database, right? So execute SQL, what it will execute. So create table query, it will execute. Right. Now the DB has created. Then once this DB has created here, let us say in case I added some modifications. So let us say DB dot means here in a execution method. So it will drop the drop table if exists. In case if the table has exist, it will drop the table. Exist if it will drop the table. That is, it will check with the table name. So with the table users, in case if the DB is available, it drop the table. So once it drop the table, what happens? Then it will call on create method. So with reference of the DB. Done. So this is the two things. Now from here, actual our task has started, right? So this is the from here we have to create our own methods to insert the data, update the data and all. So here I'm creating one function. So that is in that function, I have added that insert user. So insert user details. So insert user details. So what are the details we are inserting? So string, the name that is in the form of string, comma, location. So location. So that is also in the form of string. Next, designation. So designation colon. So that is also in the form of string. Right. So these are the parameters here we have to save. So to save this data, so first of all, I want to access the database. To access the database here, I'm creating var db equal to this dot writable database. Right. So to save the data, we are using the concept called content values. So this is the using these values. Normally we will save the data into the database. So that is content values. So this content values, using these content values, we will save the data. Then here now we will write here content values dot put. So first one is the key name. So that first one ID we are not doing here because that ID will be auto generated. So no need to work on that. So dot put. So that is the key location. So location. So next is the content values dot put key designation. So that is designation, right? Now we are inserting new row. So new row ID. So we are doing that. Next is the new row ID. Here now we are executing the query. So that is db.insert. So I'm inserting where I'm inserting in a table users, right? So second here column hook is null. Then what values we are inserting? That is the content values we are inserting. That's it. Then immediately we have to write db.close. That's it. So db.close. And that is insertion has done. Like once insertion has done, I want to get the data right. So get fun, get users. So I have to get the users data. So I have to get the users data, get users. So here now I'll write array list. So because multiple data, so we'll get the data into the array list. So for that here I'll map hash map. So that is a string. Right. So I'm getting this. So even here also I need writable database. So to get the data, I want writable database. Next var user list. I'll create a user list. So that is in the form of array list. So this array list, here I have to create hash map. So that is string. So I have created, means whatever the data it will come, that I'll save into hash map. This hash map will give the return to us. So where query, here I'm doing one query. So that is select name, location, designation. So these values from, so from where we are getting this, that is from the table users, right? So that is from the table user, this table. Then here where cursor, like because here we will get multiple values. So those multiple values cannot come at a time. So because raw query will do one by one, like it will execute one line, then it goes to the next line like that. It will execute the step by step. So that you have to write here this, right? Next for that here I'm writing one while loop. So cursor dot move to next. Cursor will move step by step, move to the next, right? First here where user. So here I am creating one more hash map to load the data step by step, like record by record. First it will add to this hash map. Then we will assign this to the main hash map. So that's the reason I'm creating here one more hash map. So this is the hash map, like I have created here. This. Done. Next here where user, where user. So here I'll write that name. So because first one is the name, right? So that is cursor dot. So what happened here? Sorry, but this where is not required. Already user I defined, right? That's the reason it is come. So cursor dot get string. So that is cursor dot get column index. So what is the column index for the name? It is the name, right? Like the same, I'll write for the next page. So total 3 values, right? Next is the location. So this is the location. So this is the key designation. So here add as a designation. Done. So for this, it is expecting something on a suppress range, so that we added here. Then here user list, whatever the hash map we created, for that we are adding this data, add user. Right. Finally, it will give return as the user list. Done. So getting the data has done. Now I want to delete the user. So how can I delete the user? So for that one, I'll write delete user. Right, I have added delete user, that is by user ID. So I have to delete the data by user ID. So that is in the form of integer, right? Means what is the auto-generated ID? Based on the auto-generated ID, now we are deleting here this. So even here also, I need the writable database, right? Then with writable database, directly I'll write the db dot delete. So I'm writing the delete. So from where we are deleting this, from this particular table. So that is with reference of the key ID, right? Key ID, that is plus equal to question mark. So with this data, we are deleting that. So that is the array of. So that is user ID dot toString. Whatever the user ID, it is converted that user ID, it is deleting this, right? Done. So that is db dot close. Done. Simple. This is simple. We have to close. Next here, I want to update the user data. So update user details. Like I want to update the user details. So here, I want to update location. So that location in the form of string. Next designation and ID. So that is int. Like these values, I want to add them. So that is integer, right? So I want to update these values. So for this, we need this content values also. Right, I'll take this content values. Even here, if you want to add name, we forgot, right? Name also will add name. So that is also in the form of, so name string. So these are all the things I have to update here. This. So name, location. So these are the, like, we will see after sometime it will refresh. I think if there is no error. So now in these values, I want to update. So for that update here, simply I'll give the return. So that return is db dot update. So where we are updating the data table users. So with reference of this content values. So which ID we are updating. So that is with reference of the key ID. So that equal to question mark. Whenever we add here equal to question mark here, so that we can say that that dynamic value is coming. So that is array of whatever the ID that is coming. So the dynamic value we use to update string. Done. So this is done. Like next here, one more query we will write for today. So that is fun like I'll copy this. So here we have getted the users, all users, but I want only the specific user, not all the users. So I want get user by user ID. I want only one specific user by user ID. So how to get that is with reference of the user ID. So that is the user ID. We have to get this data. So to get this data here, now I have array list. So this is the array list writable database. Start from select up to till it is common. Right. Here now we will modify something. So cursor instead of this raw query, here we will do the query. So different query. So that is what the different query we will write here. So from the table users, right? From the table users. So I'm writing that is array of. So what key name, key location, right? Key designation. So these values I'm trying to get. These values I'm trying to get. So that is with reference of the key ID. So what is the key ID we are sending? So with reference of that, so we supposed to get that values here. Done. Next here, array of. So we will write array of user ID dot to string. Whatever the user ID we are sending, so that should be the string. So then here I'll write few conditions. Like I don't want all the filters like here. Wait, you will see those. What is the values? Like one is the group by, other is the having, so other is the order. So I'm not writing any of the condition limit. Like only I need 5 details, 6 details like that. I'm not adding any text. Right after that here, now simply I'll write if cursor move to the next. So everything it is same. Like I have to get the user details. Finally, we'll get the user list. So this is the how we will get the data in this, right? So one thing here, it is showing the errors. Already created by addition.
So spelling mistakes are location.
So location that about how we've written here also it is spelling mistake. Okay, here both it is. So that so now based on these queries, now we will write in next. So that is next level, like how to access the data in main class and insert after insert get the data and how we will show that getting the data that we will see in next class.